Hello, and welcome to Thriving on the Spectrum, the podcast dedicated to empowering and supporting young adults with autism on their journey towards a fulfilling life. I'm your host, Arpita Mohan, and together we'll explore invaluable insights, expert advice, and personal stories that shed light on the unique opportunities and challenges young adults with autism encounter. So, if you're a parent, caregiver, friend, or ally, join us as we explore possibilities to help young adults with autism thrive. Today's episode will be all about the arts as a potential platform for meaningful engagement among autistic individuals. We are joined by Mala Chinnappa and Kavitha Krishnamoorthy. Mala is one of the facilitators at ABWA, a Brush with Art, which is a visual arts program for the neuro-diverse. Mala is also an advertising designer with over 30 years in the field. She's a mother of a 20-year-old with autism. Mala is dedicated to ABWA, special education, and meeting the needs of the special needs community. Kavitha is the co-founder and co-director of CanBridge Academy and is a parent of a young adult with autism. She's also a certified arts-based therapist. Mala and Kavitha have rich experience in this space, so I'm going to take a step back and be a listener in today's episode while Mala and Kavitha share their thoughts about the role of arts.
Hi, Mala. It's so good to have you here with us as we start off on a conversation on a topic which is very close to our heart and on which we have talked, I think, many, many times.
Yeah, hi. I'm glad to be here. And yes, we're going to enjoy this chat because we always love talking about art
Yes,
and about art for the neurodiverse. So,
absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, so let's start, Mala, by talking a little about A Brush with Art. What is this program that you and your co facilitators facilitate?
Yeah, sure. Actually, a brush with art is very, very close to my heart, and is how we met, Kavitha. Because when you came from Bangalore uh, with all the ideas from Jackie and with experience being a facilitator there for young children, where art was used more like a calming room or where it is used for settling the children in, it seemed like a wonderful idea where you use art as a medium of free exploration and art as a therapeutic form. This was one of the first times we were hearing about it. It is much needed, and it definitely we all jumped at it. Decided to start it in Chennai. That was way back 2016. There's been no looking back since then. We are still, I mean, even though it's over 7 years, we seem to be the only art program here who offer this, where unlike in schools or any other place where our children are being told to stick within the boundaries, they are being dictated or let's say controlled, even when they are practicing art. This is the only program where I think we welcome the children as young as 6 or 6 years plus up to 21, 22, and we present materials to them and we allow them to explore quite freely, enjoy the whole thing. Then they start engaging with a particular medium or a technique. We slowly present new techniques. So truly, we are not teachers. We are just, we just offer guidance and very gentle facilitation. This seems to be accepted very, very well by the children, and the parents have actually started subscribing to this program simply because the children are blossoming, they are getting calmer in the school, and their behavioral issues seem to be more under control simply because they're getting this outlet. So it's been quite an interesting journey, and we have grown with the art program.
Yes, indeed, indeed. So, what do you think art means to our youngsters?
I think more than what art means, I think we have to see what how they are teaching us so many things. We realize that there's no such thing as art as a separate subject in life, but it's a part of them. It's just part of life. So they take it so beautifully. They accept it so nicely. And I feel one of the major roles art performs is it offers a connect for them with their environment. They get to connect with their surroundings through art. They get to explore freely. It is also an expression of their freedom. And lastly, they start expressing and communicating through the art. And as one of the very, very senior artists, Vishwanathan, noted, he said it is not just freedom of expression, it's the expression of their freedom,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
that's so beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
every time, yeah, I think it's a very well put. So yeah, that's what I feel, that art is a channel for them initially. When they are young, you find that even the parent is a young parent, full of anxiety and trying to fit the child into a mainstream or an inclusive or a special school or whatever. So mostly the children, actually the ones who are more challenged, so to speak, are the ones who find art, who take to art
Right,
more.
right.
Uh, yeah, more, because they don't have any other channel where they can uh, freely express, and where they can be themselves, and where they are not being controlled. So that is one aspect of the program and of art itself. We're just allowing them to explore without boundaries seems to really help. I remember how, Kavita, you used to say that if the child is coming every time and asking for paint, more paint, every time, and this might happen for over a couple of months, and you would say just till they are fully satisfied with the engagement with that medium, just we need to offer it. And that's been something, that's a great point you made, because we find that they have fully explored it in more dimensions than we know, and then they move on. So we have to allow that, we have to respect that. The minute they know that the facilitators are respecting their choices, respecting their engagement, and the way they are working with a particular medium, I find that their behavior itself is changing, and their whole, you know, their whole manner is, they are open to suggestions and guidance later, because they respect us also. As you know, we are not threatening them, or we are not pushing them into something which could get more unpleasant for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Mala,
yeah.
I also think that art is often their first connect with the outer world. So, I mean, it's something that maybe there's not so much from the world outside, which is exciting them, but uh, their preferred art form. I mean, it could be visual art, but it could also be, say, music or movement. That is something which becomes their first kind of a the way they bridge, or the way they kind of make bridges with the external world, and they start connecting with the world. Like, I remember my son, very young, he was so drawn. I mean, the only thing that would really make him sit up was music in any form. I mean, it could be jingles, it could be classical music, and the most favorite item in the house, I mean, which he was, where he would be, you would always find him, was near the stereo system. So it does become, I mean, I think it is the first connect with the world, and in a way I think it's also something which gives them a lot of solace. They draw
Yes.
something out from that space. I mean, especially if it is facilitated in a very non-threatening and a non-judgmental manner, which is the way, at ABWA and at such other spaces we do facilitate. I think they really are very comfortable to be themselves, and that, I mean, art allows them that comfort.
Yes. And also believe that this, um, it offers a kind of a earthing for the child. Art kind of earths them, because as we say, neuro-diverse, they may be wired differently, but when it comes to art, I think it helps them connect very, very beautifully. Especially I see that with clay. When they work with clay, I find a certain, comfort, and the that's a very, very important aspect of art, where they are able to connect with their environment and with their earthly experience itself
Right, right,
through art.
absolutely.
They often say, that the child learns to sing before he can
Speak.
speak,
Right.
learns to dance
Right.
before he can walk.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah, and I think it's the other aspect which has always struck me about their engagement with art is for many of them it comes with such ease. Where they are struggling in other many of especially young children, they may be struggling with other aspects of their life, but when it comes to their chosen art form, it may not be visual art for everybody, but it might be other forms also. It probably is something that comes to them with a little more ease than other things do.
true. That's very true, and it also probably means that our children seem to be able to understand something that's pure and natural.
Right.
So everything else, which is a man-made construct, might be more difficult to fathom. Like my daughter can never figure money, the concept of money, and also the concept of time. Like, the calendar, she's not able to wrap her head around it, even though she's 20 years old. But all the other natural forms, she just picks up naturally. So I guess there's something there, their own clock is different. Like they will know when when it's time is up, the class. At the end of
Oh
45
yes.
minutes, they get up and they are ready. So they know that. But I find that there's a natural rhythm, and everything that is coming naturally, they can pick up very easily. Very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very true. Yeah.
So I think we've been talking about visual art, and I think from what Mala is saying, a lot of what she's saying, the way children or young adults relate to art is also because of that kind of facilitation that happens, the approach which is led by the child, etc. I think when we are looking at when you're looking at other art forms like say music or movement, often people feel that it's only, I mean, these are art forms which have to be taught. I mean, there is a skill involved, there is a high level of skill involved, and only when it is, I mean, the only way that a person or a child can relate to that, to music or movement, is if they are learning music, or if they are learning to play an instrument, or they are learning to dance. But what we have found in CanBridge is when they are exposed to both music, rhythm, movement in a similar way as Mala has been talking about with visual art, which is, when you start with where the child, where the young adult is, and you kind of engage with them with how they are in that moment. So, for example, if
Yeah.
a student is, one of our students, one of our first batch of students was extremely interested in movement. I mean, he's forever rocking. So, the way we began with working with him was to actually start with rocking itself. And that was like the first step, literally the first step. And with that, it got built. I mean, it got, the facilitator worked with him, worked with how he was using his body, and actually built it up to, you won't believe it, they would do a 16-step choreographed sequence together. So in a way, I mean, it wasn't teaching dance at all. It was just using his form of expression, which was movement, and building on that. Adding elements, adding new steps, adding, so, and it was something that he completely enjoyed. I mean, for me, I think that is like really the most important thing. That it's not so much
Actually, you're talking about abstract expressionism in the
in
arts,
a sense,
right?
yes,
So you had introduced when you first spoke to us that ABEX or abstract expressionism was the core of the art program, where we are not going to expect the child to draw a duck or a fish or a lotus or anything. He can just pick colors. Firstly, allowing the child to choose the color itself was a big thing. Some children used to sit there, not even couldn't even believe that am I actually allowed to choose,
right.
because till then they were constantly told what to do. So the parent, the educator, I mean everywhere, they would think that being, let's say, non-verbal means they can't think
Right.
or they can't make a choice. Yeah, so it's the first time. So oftentimes we used to find that the child would just sit there and not even know that we are asking them to choose. You want paint or you want sketch pens. Then they started diving. Once they started making a choice, then, they would just go amok. But yes, we would just let them go. And then what they were painting, or how they were coloring with their oil pastels, may not make sense, but the end product used to be what they finally finished, used to be so vibrant because there's so much energy there. And artists in Cholamandal who used to see it say there is such arrogance in those strokes. And then some others would say there is, this is pure art, which is true, because the child is not thinking about the audience. The child is just channelizing all that energy out there. So that is kind of abstract expressionism in visual art. And here itself, we were trying to break some mindsets. Lot of parents would not enroll saying, my child can't draw, or my child அவனுக்கு வரைய வராது, they would say. So we say, no, no, this is not about skills. This is a form of expression. So now what you're saying, very, very true. Even in the other forms of art, you're not expected to know to tango or anything, but just the movement is being used as a form of art by itself. So I think even it might be a common thing abroad already, but here it is still new, where abstract expressionism or abstract art is still new and is being appreciated now, simply because what they see in front of them is so
Wow.
beautiful. Yes. So then they are now saying, okay, even if I don't understand what he has painted, or if I can't make sense out of it, I like what I see. So, in a way, we are educating the general public also to appreciate art in the more pure form,
Right, and I think,
right?
yeah, I think art is so powerful is exactly because of this, Mana, especially for the group that we're talking about, which is, persons with autism. Because for them, they do struggle with expression in a sense that they may not be expressing themselves the way we do express ourselves in a regular kind of a way. And for them, therefore, art becomes such a powerful way of expression. Exactly what the point you were making about, how
Very
it
true.
can be
Yes.
anything. I mean, they could be very often, no, when we say that art is like a form of for their expression, people wonder what we're talking about because it sounds a little esoteric. I mean, expressing means what? I mean, it's like what is it really? What does it mean? But to me, actually, it's
Yeah.
really very simple because they are expressing whatever they are going through at that point in time. Like I remember, for example, in a school I used to work earlier, there was this child who would come in very agitated. He would come in at the first period, the first session, and he would have just come into school. So all the transition from home, there must have been stress in getting him ready, etc., etc. Come to school and immediately comes to the art room, and he would work with clay. So he would pound, he would kind of squeeze it, he would be doing all of that, and within 15 or 20 minutes we would see that he had actually calmed down. Now, what has he expressed? He's really expressed what he was feeling at that point of time, which was a lot of agitation, a lot of disquiet, I mean,
Yeah.
something not being in balance, and that has got expressed through that working with the clay. So it's not so much like a product which comes out or the outcome which is there, but really the process itself, the process of art making, which becomes absolutely critical, especially for these for the population we are talking about. And we've seen that with music, like we had the student in Cambridge who we used to love the xylophone, and we used to actually say, and again, same thing, we were not teaching him to play any notes, we would just give him, and he would experiment or he would explore. And we actually found that the way he plays the xylophone would depend on the mood he came in. So if it was like a little lazy, he was in a like a little slow kind of a day for him, he would go dun nun nun nun. It'll be really slow. And there were days when he'll come with like this real high energy and go da 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 da. So expression. Now it's not like he's created some piece of music and it doesn't matter. So I think what we're trying to say, both what Mala is saying and what I'm trying to say, is that it doesn't matter. The output or the outcome or the product of that art making is not as important as the process and what it does for the person. I mean, if it is having meaning for the person and it is helping them express something, then that itself is the goal.
Yeah, as the term itself, for the art program, which is abstract expressionism, they are the two core concepts in this program. It's abstract, which means you may not find um, forms, you may not find actual meaning or a concept in the work. And expressionism, which is it's all out there, they have put it out there in the paper or in their clay or in their collage, it is their expression out there. So both these are very very crucial in that in the program. It's abstract and it is expressionistic,
Superb. Very nice.
is what I feel. Yeah, and also I feel in a way, at every stage our wards seem to need the this art as a refuge. Young children, we found a lot of them who come in joyfully. So art is a means of joy, and they come in pink, purple. I know some young kids are asking for those colors, and fluid mediums really let them go and they enjoy. These are little ones who are about 6, 7, and 8. Then there is also at that point, if there is a child having a lot of control in school and lot of anxiety, they come in and they are able to, like you said, de-stress. And at the adolescent stage also there are challenges, because the child is growing and there is so many, I mean, it's a in terms of their hormones and in terms of emotions, there's so much they're battling with. And again, art seems to be helping channelize all that and calm them down or put it out there. So there is some way of, again, I'm talking mostly about children who are more challenged, so to speak. So then they may not have other means of communicating. So then the visual arts and the arts seems to provide that outlet for them. Similarly, the parents also are also going through that stage where when they are young and they are pushing their kid and the child is having that stress also, and they're calming here. And then during the adolescent stage, you find another kind of a lot of aggression with the boys. You find a lot of aggression kicking in, and usually when it comes to the art room, they kind of definitely find some kind of channelizing happening. Then comes the older stage where I think both parent and child have settled, kind of. They've all been through this entire roller coaster, and then, the CanBridge stage when they're 16, 17, 18, then they are settling in. I think this is that stage when they are ready for further instruction, gentle direction. A lot of nudging can be freely done. I remember one of our students who used to literally put paint in his mouth, when he first joined the class. And whatever medium you give, if it's crayon, he'd put it in his mouth, and everything from that stage, exploration in so many ways, to then start putting it on paper. And then slowly, I mean, he would then be so happy exploring everything. You give him a knife, palette knife, he could use that brush, flat brush, shaving brush, all the tools he was using. And now he's ready, like a lot of other young adults, he's ready for instruction. So we could sit and say his huge hang up is tea. He loves having tea. So then we would talk about tea time. So he said, "What do you have at tea time?" And there he draws a kettle. And then you say, "What else?" So there are two teacups for his mother and himself, because it's usually between the two. And I say, "What about me?" So one more teacup arrives. He says, "Only tea." He says, "No, tea with biscuits." So biscuits in a plate arranged. So suddenly you see he's actually put out there a scene from his life,
Superb.
right?
Yeah, what a wonderful
So
example,
yeah,
Mala.
so you see that at this, and he's like 19 now. So that now he's expressing, he's showing you scenes from his life, much like a regular artist. So,
Yeah, so it's actually the facilitation. I mean, you took us with this example, you took us through the facilitation so beautifully, and which brings me to another point, which is it's not that we don't want a skill, or we don't want to kind of get them to develop in their chosen art form further. But I think what we're saying is that comes at a particular stage. It shouldn't come. It shouldn't be where you start. The start is the exploration and the free exploration, and at some point of time when you know that the person is really interested. And it's very interesting how you took us through how children also go through those stages, from I mean how their art changes from when they're children to when they're
yeah,
adolescents to when they're young adults. And this podcast is really looking at young adults, and by which time I think a lot of parents have also seen that this person is inclined towards a particular art form, and they are looking at
yeah,
what are the kind of things that we could do with this. So which brings me to the next question. So if you're looking at this young adult, 18, 20, 22 year old kind of a person, and who has shown a particular inkling towards maybe a particular art form, or within visual art, maybe towards drawing, maybe towards sculpture, whatever, do you think that art can really be a form of meaningful engagement, something that they spend a substantial part of their day in? In a sense, which it's like what should I say? Something which they are engaged with consistency regularly, like an artist or like a musician would spend a great part of time, like say practicing their music. So like that, would do you see young adults with autism who are inclined
yes.
towards art also engaging in art in a serious, meaningful manner?
Yes, of course, certainly. See, our young adults are probably ready for it, were probably ready for it all the time, because by the time they reach that age and stage, they were probably, ready to take up something in the arts because it comes naturally to them, any one of them. I think now we are the ones who are more ready, meaning, the parents, the organizations that work with them, and the society at large. I mean, everybody is now a little more, let's say, primed to accepting the kind of art that they can offer. So the parent also has accepted that this abstract art is not something to be just dismissed. They have gotten to appreciate it, and even the corporates, they love it. I mean, they're buying our calendars, and not they are not pity purchases, because we are looking at like 1,000 copies. That's not a pity purchase. In fact, they could just cut us a check. They want those calendars on their desks with the abstract art out there, because it is eye popping. So then you find that with us, with the neurotypicals slowly understanding all this, we are more ready to offer the scaffolding that they would need to continue with their engagement in the arts. So, yes, definitely that our young adults can, some of them can actually take it up as full time artists, because they might be really skilled, so to speak, within quotes. And the others, we can continue to use art as a means of their expression and engagement. And it's beautiful. I mean, you'd probably ask them to go and weave at a loom, or do some farming work. I don't know, whatever be the activity, but the art can continue if they are engaged and they are delighted by it. They need it, much like we all need it. I mean, we all want some form of engagement which is purely for entertainment or for our soul. Similarly, it should be offered to them. The other very important aspect is that their art is now finding the market is really growing for them. So I think that's an extremely positive thing. We already have a large group, which is a pan Indian group called Outsider Art, and it's a WhatsApp group where parents, special educators, and even some of the artists, neurodiverse artists, are part of the group. And any exhibition, any kind of forum, any show, any call for entries is shared there, and there are so many. Every month there is something happening. So the works that they are producing naturally may be submitted, and some of them actually make the cut. Some don't. It's okay, but there are so many forums now for that. And then there are so many who have started. They may not be actually parents or people who are into charitable organizations. They're full-time business models that have started saying, hey, your ward is doing some stunning work. I would like to purchase it to make them into mugs, badges, t shirts, fridge magnets, uh, placemats, what have you. I mean, so this is also interesting. I like this collaboration where, as a parent or as a special educator, we are not, we can't skill up so much where we do the arithmetic or we know how the business model needs to work, how the market demands are, or how the supplies need to be done. But if there is a person out there who can do it, excellent. So we collaborate with them. I will give you so many numbers of stunning artworks, and you may do, whatever with it, and the child is receiving a good amount. I think it's beautiful. It's a growing trend here. So that's nice. The outsider art group and a few organizations that are doing marketing the art.
Yeah, I think that's really very encouraging because I mean, I do see that in the last 5 to 7 years, there's been such a difference in terms of, just the acceptance of autistic art in a sense. I mean, not just acceptance, I think the appreciation and, just the celebration of autistic art is, we are seeing
Yes,
it in so
yes,
many spaces. And I think while we are seeing this with visual art, with this approach, one is not seeing so much in, let's say, with other art forms, like, say, let's say, music or with movement, because somehow, I mean, I think visual art has maybe the nature of the art also, which lends itself to,
yes,
it being like for the individual, it is the process of the art making, which is the only,
yeah,
I mean, they're only interested in that. The rest is like for all of
yeah,
us. But in music and movement, or I mean, because we also do music and movement, we still have to find this space. We have to find where, I'm not necessarily talking about monetizing it, but really to the appreciation or recognizing
yeah.
that them engaging in that pursuit is legitimate and is meaningful. I think that is
Yeah, I'm thinking that in art, that's the thing with visual art, you can do it in isolation.
exactly.
Whereas some of the others probably require an audience and you have to do it on demand, which we definitely can't expect out of our wards, to go out there, stand there and perform on demand. That may not be. So we will have to look at, using recordings and
Well,
stuff
not
like
all of
that,
them. Some
maybe.
of them
Yes.
love it. I mean, I also know some people who just
Yeah.
love the stage. But the point is that
Yeah.
whether it's performing on stage or whether it is engaging with that pursuit in the four walls of your home, I mean, if that person wants to do it, that is still okay. And that is, I mean, I would think that even that to me would be a meaningful form of engaging with the arts, even if you're doing it for yourself, in the privacy of your
Yeah.
home.
Of course, I think the parents also, it's mainly the parents who need to come to that level of acceptance. And I think they do. By then, by the time your child is about 18, 20, all you want is for your child to be happy, for your child to have that, have a sense of peace with the world. And how do you do that? Offer him the art that of his choice,
Right.
right? I think parents have also reached that stage, and that's all we need. We need to provide that, and the only persons who can give that permission to say so, if I can use that word, are the parents. And then there are organizations like you who actually celebrate it. So we just need more orgs like CanBridge who would be deeply committed to um, allowing young adults upwards, the neurodiverse persons, to pursue whatever floats their boat.
Absolutely. So I think we're talking of maybe really like I don't know, for want of a better word, expressive arts studios or something like that, where they can really come and explore the art of their choice. And that is, I
Yes.
mean, if they want to do like 2 3 hours, they want to spend jamming, doing some music, sound recording, movement, visual art, whatever. I mean, they just, like you said, of
Yeah.
choice. I mean, just imagine, that would be, I mean, so lovely to have
Yes.
that space where they're engaged so meaningfully through the arts. But one of the challenges I do see there, Mala, is I think that of mentorship. So somewhere,
Hmm.
like for example, I am not an artist. I don't have an art background, and I've always found that to be a bit limiting in terms of taking it forward. Whereas I see, like, say, people like you or our other colleague Jyotsna, both of you with an arts background, are able to really, like mentors to them because you also understand art.
Yeah, there I'll have to no, there I'll have to chip in and say that as in the case of everything, no, the parents, even the educators, we have to skill up. If I am the art facilitator, I find that now I have taken some uh, lessons in watercolors, and I'm trying all that every day because I need to be able to present new mediums and techniques and be able to facilitate. So I do skill up. You can't sit back. Really, as a initially when you're working with little children, all you need to do is be there and present materials. But as they are growing, and when they are like 18, 19, we have to skill up or bring in resources who are more skilled. I might know the person very well, but I may not be equipped to mentor, then I bring in the resource person, which is why it will be beautiful if the expressive art studio had, professional artists coming there and, kind of gentle guidance here and there. And, they say, okay, this one needs a little bit of nudging here and there. And we are there just to
Be the bridge.
maybe prime the, yeah, that's about it. And we can step back as with all our, especially with ABWA, it's all about stepping back when the child is, exploring. That's what. And I'm already getting this feeling, Kavitha. 2016, we had a conversation, and ABWA was born. Okay, and now it's 2023, and some new idea, and this is much needed. This is again much needed, and there is nothing of the sort here. So yeah, let's
Let's
see.
see where this takes
Yes,
us. Yes, and that's such a
yes,
wonderful point, I think, to wrap up, because, yeah, I think it's very exciting to think of something like this. And Mala has been like a
yeah,
co conspirator. So, well, world, beware. We don't know what we're going to launch onto you all now. So,
yeah.
yeah. So, Mala, before we wind up, any last thoughts, anything you want to say?
I think this was anyway at the back of my head that it's time, or with the young adults, growing and challenging us. It was already, it's time we started a studio where I kept thinking that this 45 minutes is not enough. 45 minutes was a stretch for little ones. But the older they get, they need about 1.5 hours to 2 hours where they take a break, come back, work, and they deliberate, revisit, and have been thinking a lot about a studio fully fitted out, with lockers and each one's, separate space. So it'll be wonderful if we can get something like that going in Chennai.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And
Yeah.
we this series of conversation we are having on this podcast is about avenues for meaningful engagement for autistic adults. And I would think that a studio like this, in which they would spend, some of the what to say, the variables that we look at, or the elements that we look at for meaningful engagement, is that the person engages for longer periods, for longer time,
Yes.
like what you said, from a 45-minute session to a 1.5 to 2 hours kind of a thing, because they are actually ready. I mean, we have one student who's so much into cooking. They cook their lunch in CanBridge, so then they from about 11 to 12:30, the whole cooking happens, and then he has lunch, and he'll come and stand there and say, can we make cake now? So he's just about finished, but he
Wow.
wants to then make cake, and then he wants to make tea. So it's like, This is exactly
Yeah.
what meaningful engagement is. Now, for him, it is cooking, but he's willing to do more and more and more of it. And he'll go home and probably make a
Yeah.
vegetable for dinner or something. So, but he just wants to engage with that
Yeah.
activity so much more. So, for him, it's cooking. For somebody, it may be painting. For somebody else, it's music. For somebody else, it's moving. Can we really create
Yeah, and also
spaces?
that brings this point of how there is a typical aspect of our wards. A lot of them, when they start something, they lock in. So they're so deeply engaged. You can't say, okay, 45 minutes is up, so next week we'll finish it. Let's say he started a collage. He would like to finish it. It may take half a day, but he would like to, because some of them get locked into something like that. And earlier we used to say we have to unlock them and they shouldn't be locked into an activity. And I think how bizarre. Actually, the person is deeply engaged,
Right, right,
right?
right.
In which case, if it's going to take him a couple of hours, he would be happily doing it. Let him do it.
Yeah, I think it's
But our construct is not right now able to accommodate that. So we need to skill up,
exactly, exactly. I
actually.
think the whole
Yeah.
perspective of what constitutes meaningful engagement. That art is a very legitimate and a valid form of, of a pursuit that you can spend longer time with. It's not just quote unquote leisure, or, he's just kind of scribbling away, or he's just listening to music. There's no just in art. It is
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, what a wonderful
Yeah.
conversation, Mala, as always.
Yes.
And thank you so much for joining us today, and really shedding light on many
Thank you.
aspects of the potential that art has for our youngsters, especially for those who are so drawn to it.
I couldn't agree more. This was a wonderful episode, and it really has been an eye opener for me too to understand so much about art and how autistic individuals view art. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode filled with inspiration, support, and hope. On our next episode, we will be joined by Rudy David, where we will talk about music as a form of meaningful engagement. Until next time, take care, stay positive, and keep thriving.